Welcome, everyone. Ready to dive into a world where creativity knows no bounds? We're talking outsider art, or Art Brut, as Jean Dubuffet called it. It's art that stands apart, outside the norms, made by self-taught artists.
It challenges what we think art is. It's raw, powerful, and often reflects these really unique life journeys.
Right, we've got documentaries, articles,
Yeah.
even looked at some museum websites for this.
Perfect. Let's start with Dubuffet. He really championed this art form. He was drawn to art made by patients in psychiatric hospitals, actually stopped making his own art for years after encountering it.
Wow, that's powerful. What did he see in it? Wasn't there a book, Artistry of the Mentally Ill?
Yeah, by Dr. Hans Prinzhorn. It really influenced Dubuffet. He felt Art Brut had an authenticity, something missing in the traditional art world, a direct connection to the artist's soul, untouched by all the conventions. He preferred Art Brut over art obscure art because raw felt more fitting, more unfiltered.
Not just hidden, but raw. That seems key to outsider art.
Absolutely. Unpolished, sometimes even confrontational, but always personal, challenges what we usually value in art skill, training, even beauty in the traditional sense.
Like Henry Darger, a Chicago janitor, created this whole fantasy world. We saw a documentary, mind-blowing.
Oh yeah, Darger. Thousands of pages of writing, paintings, war, children in danger. He never showed it to anyone while he was alive, only found after he died.
It's like a secret world.
Ugh.
But is it okay to show it now? I mean, he never meant for anyone to see it.
Big debate. Should we share because it's so powerful, or is it violating his privacy?
Tough one. Makes you think about the artist's intention. And then there's Judith Scott, fiber artist, Down syndrome, her sculptures, they got international recognition.
Scott's story is amazing. Deaf and mute. She worked at Creative Growth Art Center, an organization that helps artists with developmental disabilities. Her sculptures were these cocoons made from things she found, wrapped in yarn and fabric.
They were incredible. We saw them online. Like she was weaving her own world.
Yeah, and because she couldn't tell us what she meant, they become these mysteries. What do they mean? Makes you think.
Does the artist's intention even matter then? I mean, she couldn't say, but her work still speaks.
Right. Maybe art's power is in that being open to interpretation. It doesn't need the artist to explain it.
So Dubuffet focused on marginalized individuals, but outsider art, it's broader now, right?
Yeah, it's expanded. Self-taught artists, anyone who doesn't fit the traditional categories.
From the artist's circumstances to the art itself.
Exactly. Unconventional art, outside the norms, no matter who the artist is.
And this shift, it became official in '72 with Roger Cardinal's book, Outsider Art. Language shapes how we see things, huh?
Definitely. As outsider art grew, so did its recognition. Organizations like Creative Growth and the American Visionary Art Museum are important here.
And the Outsider Art Fair, we saw a video, it's huge. Proof that people want this art.
It's interesting. Even galleries that usually show well-known artists, they're starting to include outsider art.
So is it really outside then? If it's in museums, galleries?
Good point. Some say outsider art is, well, othering the artists. Concerns about exploitation too, especially when the artist might not have wanted their work out there.
It's a lot to think about. Appreciating the art, but also being fair to the artists.
It is, and it's worth talking more about. But for now, how about Royal Makepeace? His story's pretty fascinating. Schizophrenia, his art is so connected to that.
Yeah, very raw, emotional. We saw a documentary, hallucinations, paranoia, it was all there. I remember one of his caregivers said, since his art was a reflection of his personal trauma, it provided the necessary shell, the necessary stronghold that he badly needed to resist against a hostile world.
It was how he coped, dealt with all that inner turmoil.
Art as a lifeline.
Exactly, showing how important it can be for some.
And it reminds you, outsider artist, it's just a label.
Right, they're individuals with their own stories, their own way of seeing things.
Speaking of unique, Carlo Zanelli. Yeah. Over 2,000 gouges and drawings. And he was also, he was being treated for schizophrenia. We read in Art Basel that even though he's a big Art Brut artist, his work still sells for less than other artists.
It's how the market's reacting. Outsider art is getting more popular, but it's still not valued the same as, let's say, mainstream art.
Interesting. Outsider art's finding its place, but it's complicated.
Yeah, recognition and value, they don't always match up. Curious to see what happens next. The more popular it gets, the more you worry. Will it lose what makes it special? That rawness.
That's true. Ethical concerns, people wanting to make money off it, the artists getting exploited. But isn't it good too? More people seeing this art, appreciating it.
Oh, for sure. More visibility means more understanding, right? More people connecting with these artists, their vision.
Yeah.
And it could help them, make
Yeah.
a living from their art, which can be really empowering.
And the art world itself, it shakes things up, makes you think, what is art? Who's an artist?
It's like, wow, fresh air. Art doesn't have to be all, perfect and planned. It can be powerful, meaningful, no matter who made it.
The Watts Towers in LA. Those were amazing. We saw a documentary, so impressive. Simon Rodia, he built them, took him 33 years, scrap metal, found objects, no training, no plans.
They're incredible. Outsider art that goes beyond, well, everything. Sculpture, architecture, his own vision. And he never explained why, just left it for us to figure out.
Adds to the mystery, right?
Yeah.
Like, wow, human creativity is powerful.
And talking about powerful, Howard Finster, the preacher, turned his backyard into Paradise Garden, his art space. We saw a documentary. His story is really something. Outsider art crossing over, reaching everyone.
Oh, yeah. Finster, so vibrant, so many different things mixed in. Religious stuff, pop culture, his own thoughts. He even did album covers like R.E.M., Talking Heads.
Exactly. Outsider art that speaks to everyone, even influences pop culture. He wasn't trying to fit in, just creating what he felt. And that, you can feel it.
It's that feeling, right, that draws you in. Raw, honest, like you're seeing right into the artist.
Unfiltered, untamed. In a world that's so, controlled, perfect. This rawness, it's refreshing.
So what does it all mean? Outsider art, what can we learn from it? About creativity, being human.
Big question. It makes you realize creativity, it's in everyone. Doesn't need training, approval, even a purpose. It can come from anywhere, from people we least expect.
It challenges everything. Makes you think, what's possible in art, in life, celebrating being different, how each of us sees the world.
Beauty, meaning it's everywhere if we open our eyes.
Like that quote from the Museum of Everything. The director, he said, what if there is this inborn urge to be an artist? Inborn in these guys that had no chance. Maybe creativity is more natural than we think.
It's like it's part of us waiting to come out no matter what life throws at you.
Maybe that's the real power of outsider art. Connects us to that part of ourselves, the part that wants to create, express.
Reminds us that everyone has potential, waiting to be discovered,
We've covered a lot. The history, the big names, the debates, all the questions. But there's still so much more.
That's the thing. It's always changing, new artists, new ideas. It's a journey, always discovering, always seeing what human creativity can do.
It keeps you guessing, makes you question things, shows you there's always something new to learn.
And for everyone listening, keep exploring this on your own. We talked about Raw Vision Magazine, Intuit, the Center for Intuitive and Outsider Art, the American Visionary Art Museum. There's so much out there.
It's amazing the variety of outsider art. Paintings, sculptures, fiber art, those incredible environments. And everything's made from, well, anything.
All because the people making it, they come from all over. Different experiences, reasons for creating. It makes it so rich, so complex.
And even though they're different, there's this connection, this feeling. It's real, raw, breaks all the rules.
Straight from the heart. No training, no pressure. You're seeing their inner world, how they see life.
And that's what grabs you. It's different, it's beautiful in its own way. It says creativity's in us all.
Reminds you that art doesn't need to be perfect to matter. Sometimes it's the raw, real stuff that hits you the hardest.
Like Carlo Zanelli. His work, those colors, the lines, those figures, so simple, so powerful.
He had schizophrenia, but his art wasn't just about that, It was how he talked to us, how he expressed himself, how he found joy in a world that probably felt pretty crazy.
It was a bridge, his inner world to ours. Sharing his vision.
It's that human need to connect, to be understood, to share no matter what.
Even when you're an outsider, when things are tough, you can create, express yourself, find beauty.
It's the human spirit, never giving up. Creativity, it connects us, lifts us up.
Makes you wonder, what's success in outsider art? Is it fame, money, or something else?
People have been arguing about that forever. It used to be being outside the art world, no training, no money, but now things are changing.
Outsider artists in big galleries, museums, their work's selling for a lot. It's interesting, but is it still real? Can it stay true to itself when money's involved?
It's tough finding that balance. We want them to be seen, recognized, but also to keep what makes their work special.
Maybe success is different for each artist. Maybe it's just expressing themselves, not needing anyone's approval. Or maybe it's reaching more people, sharing their vision.
Or maybe it's making a living, getting recognized by the art world. The important thing is we respect that, their own goals, their own idea of success.
Like Gregory Blacksock said, Being an artist is about having an idea and making it happen. It's not about making a lot of money or being famous. A lot of outsider artists, they create because they have to, not for fame or money.
They show us creativity itself is valuable. Art makes life richer, connects us to something bigger.
Powerful message in a world that's all about, well, being successful, having things.
And we can all learn from that, whether we're artists or just enjoy art.
Creativity, it's a force. It can be anything. You don't need a degree, a studio, special skills. Just be open to it, explore, express yourself.
Let's see where that creative spark takes us.
Because art, like the world, it's full of possibilities, just waiting to be discovered. It's amazing how outsider art makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about art. Who's an artist? What's considered good? All of it.
Yeah, it makes you realize that creativity, that spark, it's in everyone, no matter where you come from, what your life's been like.
We've seen artists who were, well, they were on the outside.
Yeah.
Not accepted by the art world, but they created some incredible stuff. Beautiful, original, powerful.
Exactly. Like, hey, creativity isn't just for a special group. It can come from anywhere, anyone.
Like Henry Darger, remember? The janitor who created that whole other world right in his apartment. No one even knew until after he was gone.
And he created all that, so much of
Yeah.
it, with no training, no one to guide him. And people are still fascinated by it, inspired by it.
It just shows you the power of imagination, even when you're alone, facing challenges.
It's like, look closer, you might be surprised who has that creative spark. It doesn't always come from where you expect.
And it says something about art itself,
Yeah,
right? It doesn't have to fit into a mold. It can be from anyone.
it really does. And then you have Judith Scott creating those amazing sculptures, deaf, mute, but she found a way to express herself.
It's incredible, her story. Shows how art can give you a voice, even when you feel like you don't have one.
Right. It can be healing, helping you deal with tough stuff, finding meaning, connecting with others.
It makes you think differently about, well, what we call ability and disability,
Yeah.
right? Everyone has something to offer, something to create.
Definitely. But as we look at outsider art, we can't ignore the tough questions. Like, are we being fair to these artists? Are we exploiting them?
It's a valid concern, especially when you're dealing with people who might be, well, vulnerable. You have to be careful, respectful.
Absolutely. We can't just romanticize their struggles or use them to make ourselves look good.
It's about understanding, right? These artists, they often see the world differently. We have to listen, treat them with respect.
Exactly. And the best outsider art, it comes from that pure place, that need to express, no strings attached.
So how do we collect this art, exhibit it, and still be ethical?
It's a challenge. We want to celebrate these works, share them, but we also need to protect the artists.
Think about their intentions, what they understand about the art world, how vulnerable they might be.
And we need to talk, artists, curators, collectors, everyone. Make sure we're doing this right.
The point isn't to take advantage, but to lift up their voices, celebrate their art. Help everyone understand what it means to be human in all its, well, messiness and beauty.
That's a good way to put it. As we finish this deep dive, it's important to remember outsider art, it's not a box you can put people in. It's always moving, always changing.
So many styles, stories, cultures all mixed together.
And it pushes us, makes us think about art, creativity, being human in new ways.
It's been amazing seeing how outsider art can be so personal, yet speak to everyone. Created by those on the margins, but connecting with people everywhere.
It doesn't fit in, but it's in museums all over the world.
And it makes you ask the big questions. What is creativity? What makes art real? What does it mean to be human?
We've seen how it can make us question everything, see things differently, find inspiration in unexpected places.
We've met artists who overcame so much, and their work, it's just incredible.
And it all comes back to that one thing. Creativity has no limits. It breaks down all the walls, the differences, the obstacles.
So as we end our look at outsider art, keep exploring.
Go to museums, check out exhibitions, find these artists. You never know what you'll find.
And remember, that creativity, it's inside all of us. So whether you make art or just enjoy it, let outsider art inspire you. Embrace your own vision. See the world in new ways.
Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We hope you learned something, that it sparked something in you.
Until next time, keep searching, keep creating.